Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Machado. I'm a realtor with Corcoran Global Living, and I'm a proud sponsor of Donuts for Breakfast, and we are the remedy. I believe that Desire to Inspire Studios is a great and safe place for kids to learn. The opportunity to be able to come out and experience what it's like to be on a set, experience what it's like to work with other people, experience what it's like to have to create and build relationships with people that you're going to work with is so important. We need to respect our youth, and we need to teach them, we need to help them grow. And I think this is a great opportunity for us and myself as a sponsor to help those kids grow. If you like this programming and like helping our youth, please consider sponsoring the show. Thank you.
For breakfast at Desire to Inspire Studios Foundation. Welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. We have on our show today myself, Trevor Henley. I'm the Inspirational Activist founder and executive director of Desire to Inspire Studios. We have with us Ra. You want to tell us your name and that, or do you want me to go? It's a tight ship we run here.
Yes. My name is Ra Feasby. I am the operations director at Desire to Inspire Studios Foundation, and next to me is Mr. Michael Pritchard.
Michael Pritchard, friend of these young people and learner from the wisdom of interns.
And we have with us again John Wallace from STOP, or Surviving the Odds Project. See how much better I got since last time?
Wow.
Man, it's like, on it.
Rolling.
And we're really excited to have John on the show again today, and we're going to talk a little bit about our partnership and our newly found partnership and what that means. But as you may or may not know, we are talking about generational wealth this week, or this month, and it happens to be another week in July. So, real quick, what does generational wealth mean?
According to geobanking rates, generational wealth is a collection of financial resources passed down across multiple generations in a family. If you can leave behind a noteworthy inheritance to your descendants, that's generational wealth.
Noteworthy.
Noteworthy inheritance.
Noteworthy inheritance.
Yes.
Yeah. Not
Be
like an
Trevor, we got a
IOU
grant
note,
for you.
though, right?
Go do you. That's right.
How about just a note that says good luck?
Yeah, right? I can pass a lot of those.
Is that like the will?
Yeah, right?
The will says, good luck, all of you. I have nothing to give you other than my love. So,
I like it. Well, so that was the end of the show. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining
that was great.
thanks for attending.
And,
Morning Donut is happy to have you.
Oh, we forgot our donuts this morning.
No, we
Oh,
didn't.
man.
I
All right.
actively
Well,
chose not to
and
do
also we have a couple of apprentices with us this morning. We have Griffey and Vinny.
What?
Right? Hello. Oh, I did get it right. Yes.
Yeah.
Panda camera. We haven't quite got that set up yet, but we're there. So thank you and they're kind of working the cameras with us, along with Christopher Grimshaw, our latest apprentice program graduate, who is actually our producer, and Cesar Cruz, who is our director of videography, who is, I don't know, overseeing the entire thing. I think he would be the producer.
I think we call it Ramrod, the guy who runs the whole cattle drive.
Car Ramrod?
Ramrod?
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
Sorry.
All right, so anyway, back to the topic of generational wealth. So we talked about this a little bit internally as our team last week.
Yeah.
And I think there was definitely a few ahas. I'm hoping that we get Raw on our soapbox again this week, because that was
I'm
great.
actively
Genius.
choosing not to be on
Yeah,
my
that's not
soapbox.
gonna
No. I like that soapbox.
Right?
It's smart.
So let's talk about it. I mean, what are the understandings of generational wealth at this moment in time?
That's a fascinating topic, because right now this week we've been seeing incredible amounts of exposure to, I mean, if you just take the Britney Spears situation, where you're an artist and remember when I was talking last week and I said, sometimes if you're a person who's an assistant to somebody in music, and you know this, John, you've been in music a while, and or show business, sometimes the poor assistant is so overwhelmed emotionally by watching the artist be taken advantage of at times, and even in interfamilial way, you know. Not saying that, Brittany, can't handle this stuff, but it's a hard call for everybody. It's a tough business, and in Vegas, it's a tough business.
It's significantly more complex than most people want to think about.
Right, exactly.
Or choose to think about.
But when you meet assistants, sometimes this is crazy, but I counsel people who have been assistants to people in show business, comedians and movie stars and stuff. And I help them, and there's literally, you could make a business out of that. I don't want to, but, because all you're trying to do is do what we're doing here.
Right.
Love thy neighbor.
Right.
Help these folks. When they're dealing with emotional trauma from what they see happen to an artist, what they see happen in life to a musician, and the advantage taken, and the generational wealth taken. Right? Yeah. I mean, there's violence behind that, as can be seen by stuff in the music industry. If you watch any of the films about stuff that in the music industry, you can see that there's violence brought on by the amount of money coming in, right? And so it's really important for all of us to do everything we can to help your. If your kid in sports. And any kind of sport now, because even in, if you're looking at college sports now, because they've given permission for them to be given money.
What? That's new.
Oh yeah, just brand new.
That's a thing now?
Yeah.
We're now endorsing.
You can get endorsed. Yes. No. Supreme Court. Yes.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's a whole nother donuts for breakfast, y'all.
Oh, okay.
Like or comment if you want to see endorsement of collegiate athletes on our next topic for donuts for breakfast.
Man. Oh, that's a good idea. So, but I mean, because you're in the process of teaching somebody who's young how to handle money, so that you have the money to take care of yourself, and that somebody's not ripping you off or being disingenuous or
but who's teaching that?
That's the point. We need you.
No.
Well, we had our
on the soapbox.
We had oh gosh, what was our first guest? I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Jason, right? Financial advisor, first generation, and working on creating his own generational wealth for his family, and trying to teach that to other people.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure if that's the same Jason, he's insanely active. He's done the Ironman competition, was training people to do Ironman. I mean, so it's starting, like you said, Mike, going back to something like this, right? It's just reaching out. Yeah, reaching out to somebody.
Call Jason DeLeon if you're about to come into an unfortunate amount of money in college sports.
Right. And he will teach you how to manage it and set you up for life, hopefully.
And a good guy.
Well, and he's a great guy.
Just a great guy.
He is a really good guy. So we touched on some really interesting situations of potential for generational wealth. We talked about musicians.
Right.
We talked about entertainers, and we talked about athletes. Those are all situations where families that hadn't come into wealth.
And artists.
It's a little bit different though. Artistry from those it's a little bit different. But so those are situations where you can have families who had never experienced wealth suddenly come into it, and you have these conflicts where you have abundance where before there was not. And
like winning the lotto.
Like winning the lotto, but worse so. Because there is an actual individual behind the making of that money.
Exactly.
There's somebody who is putting forth in the making of that money, and you end up with mismanagement, with people being taken advantage of, with a perversion of focus in the case of collegiate athletes where before your goal was to, those, top tier athletes coming out of high school, they're going to college knowing they have to perform well for recruiters because the draft is really what their aim is. And now
I know you'll have those athletes who are still aiming for the NFL, but you have those kids who are in it for the money, and we're now telling them they don't even have to get that far before they're being endorsed.
Yeah.
So that's a new area that I'm not particularly enthusiastic to hear about.
Doesn't the family come into play in that? The family has to tell them you have to have the priority of getting your education before you start to make that money.
But you're talking about adults. You're talking about 18-year-olds who, for all intents and purposes, haven't gotten to a developmental stage where they can delay gratification. You're telling an 18-year-old who's going into a D1 Pac-10 school, who's already talking to Adidas and Nike, and that needs to focus on his business degree instead of play football?
You are so smart. I just love you.
That's
so smart.
That's a crazy idea. That's just one more. I mean, I think we're all kind of mixed feelings about college in general these days. However, sliding endorsements for essentially kids.
What is your biggest fear on that? What is your fear? That's all I want to ask. Is what is your?
So this gets into a very touchy topic for me because for a lot of urban youth, they are given 3 avenues for wealth. They are given music, they are given sports, or they are given drugs. And those are what are perpetuated in urban environments. And it's not racial. It's urban. Like, it doesn't matter what your ethnic background is. That is what you see.
Right.
And to perpetuate, it's almost to me taking a step back. If you have a kid who's managed to get himself to college, and now you're dragging them back into a cycle of do the work, make the money, do the work, make the money. And that's not where I feel like our young people should be driven in that way, in an endorsement way, because you're basically becoming a figurehead you're walking billboard for somebody else. Your value is diminished in a way that at 18 you can't really assess. It's one thing to have a 22-year-old or 25-year-old or 27-year-old sit down and read over a contract and know their worth within that contract. College students are still trying to figure out how not to have ramen every day. They're still diversifying food options at this point. Like, that's a little bit different. I had really, really great track athletes that I ran with.
Yeah.
And their idea of carbo loading was like 5 orders of Burger King before an event. Nike shouldn't want that. That's not where we should be. But I wanted to bring up one more thing because we do have an entertainment industry. We have a few entertainment industry figureheads here. There's a new thing because of the internet, and it is, I think, the most recent addition to generational wealth. Being famous for being famous.
Wow. Yes.
And that is the weirdest thing to me. Like, you have kids whose parents were athletes, whose parents were musicians, who developed themselves and created this wealth, and literally their kids make money for just being their kids. It's the weirdest thing ever to me.
Well, you're talking like the gaming or the Twitch following or the YouTube
I'm talking
infamy.
about Paris Hilton. I'm talking about the Kardashians. I'm talking about literally children who are famous and make money by just simply being the children.
They're born into it.
Of famous people.
Right.
And that's a new, weird, odd form of generational wealth. They will continue to make money off of just being a byproduct of a really good night.
That's one way to look at it. That won't be a topic for another show. At least, maybe it will be. Who
Should
knows?
have been a stand-up, I always said.
Well, so then the other side of it is going to, again, the different levels of generational wealth, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so we talked about this in the beginning, where, when I started my career, I was $35,000 in debt. I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. I didn't know where my next client was coming from. And, I had to figure it out. But I had my parents that helped me out a couple of times, which they had saved for college, and I didn't go to college. I would have if they gave sponsorships or something like that, because I would have been an elite athlete. Anyway, other than that, but, it's not the same as like a Paris Hilton generational wealth, right? So, but that would consider generational wealth, right? I'll probably get an inheritance.
That is what's considered generational wealth.
Right.
You'll probably get, it's the key.
Of
It's
something.
it's that wiki response. Assets of note.
Right.
The fact that you were helped out over the years a
Right.
couple of times, yes. The fact that they had it for you and they had set it
Right.
aside for you is something that could have been handed down had you not needed it to, survive.
Right.
But the fact that you have an inheritance, that's that generational
Right.
wealth key point.
I want Ra to go all across country on tour, teaching young people in colleges what she's talking about here.
Oh my goodness.
But you've been in music industry, and I've been around it. I mean, I opened for a million different great music folks. But John, what do you see, and when you see somebody in the music industry make a bunch of money and the impact it might have on them?
I mean, for me, it took a lot of my ego got in the way.
Right.
Like when money comes, it changes people in ways.
In what way? In what way you think most?
I mean, for me, I was raised in the ghetto, so
Got it.
when I got money, it was just like, oh man, I got this money right here. I want to prove to everybody like I'm better than them. So there was a lot of forms of like acting out with money.
Right.
Spending it endlessly and tirelessly,
Looking all
like
brand new
just
with
because
your money.
you had it, you had a point to prove to other people, like you're better than them, basically.
Yeah.
That's how it was.
What does it do to you internally after you get respite from it and you go,
Yeah.
why did I spend all that money?
Yeah, what does that look like?
Yeah.
The craziest part is realizing that you like made these choices to like spend, and then you're left with, damn, I could have saved that and put it towards my kids' college fund, or done it this way, And with me, unfortunately, I have a lot of kids, so most of my generational wealth went to
Not
child support,
unfortunately.
all these other things, So it was
For the
like-
money side of
yeah,
things.
for the money side of it.
Right.
The children are the blessing. Folks, trust me when I tell you this. I'm in my 70s now. The best form of Social Security is children
Yeah.
that love you. Trust me.
Because they're going to take care of you.
But
Go ahead.
I've seen a lot of people that I know in the industry, like when money comes into play,
Right.
comes a lot of evil. Like people start, hurting each other over it.
Right.
And then I've seen money passed down through families. I've seen stocks turn over to individuals. I've seen trust funds get turned over and handed down to individuals that I know. And with that, some of them didn't know what to do with it.
Well, you take somebody like Suge Knight, who has violence in the background, and I mean, video clips of the violence that go with it, right?
Yeah.
And then movies made about it. What's the impact, do you think, that we need to go, like Ross and Urban? How do we help them? How do we all help them? And what have you learned that you can help them, John? You're a smart guy.
Yeah.
You're a smart guy.
It's all about what you put out there, the content you put out there. Like, I remember when I first started with music, I would put stuff out there to prove a point to someone, like, and just act as if, like, I didn't have it, but I was acting as if, and it set the wrong image, know. And then some of the things I would talk about in my music, I wasn't really doing.
Right.
Got it.
So that's why I try to teach these youth that I work with, like, don't sell yourself short. Don't talk about things you haven't done, because later on in life, like, you're looked at as this,
You've
like
grown
a fraud,
so much
basically.
spiritually from your life.
Yeah.
You've learned things
Yeah.
that, Aeschylus said, with every drop of pain on the human heart, wisdom grows.
Yeah,
and you
for
have
sure.
that in abundance.
For sure.
So, but let me ask all of you, I mean, because for me, let me just tell you one experience I had. When I was young, I signed a contract with the network, and they had been very nice to me. I mean, I signed a contract for a lot of money back in the early 80s. And and every time I go to the airport in Burbank, they'd send a limo for me. And on the third go around, they said, hey, just catch a cab. How is that funny to you, Rob? How is it so funny?
Sorry.
She's excited to hear where the story's going to go.
I am. I'm very enthused.
Well, what do you think I did? What do you think? What do you think I did?
Called a limo.
No,
No, walked.
no, I took a cab. But what was I feeling?
Oh yeah.
No, your value was greatly diminished. You saw how they really felt about you. They're no longer trying to impress you.
Or were they trying to manipulate the situation? Were they trying to make you more compliant with what they wanted to do?
That's not very nice.
That's a very good point.
So we have to, as artists, you have to know your value, understanding,
Yeah.
before you get to that situation where they can go,
Do what I want. You'll get back
your
luxuries.
artist is vulnerable.
Right.
You could be a great musician.
Yep.
You could be a brilliant professor of incredible wisdom, like you are. She shrugs me off all the time, but I tell her someday I will watch her get her master's and start teaching to her doctorate to teach college students. That will happen, I promise you. Now, all I can say is
Tomorrow.
The accelerated
if
program.
we had enough money,
Tomorrow.
that could happen
Right.
tomorrow morning. So, but what that does is, what do you feel when, I was like stunned. I was like, wait, and I felt like the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz, like, wait a minute, the wizard sent for me, but he didn't want to take care of me and put me on the carriage. So, you are heartbroken at once, and here's the thing. I'm a former probation officer. I'm tough. I've been around. I'm also a veteran. I've seen some ugly stuff. And I'm 30 years old. But now I'm afraid. I'm anxious. What did I do wrong?
That is
Self-doubt.
very manipulative.
Self-doubt. Self-doubt. So what do we have to do in order to help them get past that self-doubt? What are ways? You, all three of you
I
are
think-
brilliant young people.
I mean, the
I'm
biggest-
an old man.
The biggest thing I think for that is understand. You have to know yourself. You have
What do
to
you mean by
get to know yourself? I mean, I've done like personal development work for like 14 years since I've been in business, right? So I know what my triggers are. Oh, well, I don't say I know what my triggers are. I know what a lot of my triggers are. I
Okay,
still
got
get
it.
triggered all the time.
Right.
I have patterns that I try and repeat, but I've taken the time to understand what I want in life and what I don't want in life.
Prioritize.
And I can make the decision based on my own personal experience if I want to continue down the path that I'm headed towards at one point that says this is not what I want. And I can go, wait, I can change that. Or I can catch it and say, this is the path I want to go down. And how do I continue doing that? And I think part of this is the generational wealth conversation is like just understanding the word. Like us doing this topic taught me about generational wealth.
Yes, me too.
Right? I
Yeah.
knew about
I'm
it,
with
but
you.
not in this term.
Yeah,
Right?
got it.
And so,
Yeah.
I know where I'm going and what I want to do with my life.
Right.
And I know what I want to provide for my kids and my
Confidence.
wife and my, my legacy, so to speak. But it's knowing what you want. And then understanding that, I know that I'm the only person that stands in the way of achieving what I want.
I am driven, but I am the driver.
Right.
Right.
So, but let me ask you this, because this is where money comes in. Up on the demigods of finance, who are way up on top, know how to manipulate situations
Right.
to their own advantage.
Right.
This is what makes them wealthy.
Right.
This is what makes them have incredible
Right.
old wealth.
Right.
Okay, so how do you combat that? If you're just an artist, you're a simple artist, you're an athlete or a musician, how do you stand strong against that? That's important to know, folks. And if you're listening to this, if you're a young athlete, a young musician, a rapper, if you're a young person who's an artist of any sort, and you have some saleable commodity from the presence of your brilliance and your genius, listen carefully to this, because all I can say is I want to hear from them. How do we help ourselves? Because these are my neighbors, and I'm not of this generation. I don't know what you guys have lived through. truly, because of technology, because of the mob of toxic anger that rolls and attacks people on the internet at times, inexplicably, and for no good reason. And, of course, I tell a joke about the lady who was so vicious and toxic, and she went for a walk in the desert, and she was bitten by a scorpion, and it died. So we can be confronted with that, and people that are manipulated to attack you to make you vulnerable. Am I wrong?
Not at all.
Some people get rich off hurting other people.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Some people get rich off hurting other people. It's sad. You break them down, especially on social media. Attack them because it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I've witnessed it. I've been a victim of it many times. But
What does it do to a human being?
I mean, it tears you down inside. But a lot of people.
Such a good
A lot of
man,
people might
to
not
be
like my
honest.
music, and I had to deal with that type of stuff in the past.
It's not competition, is it? It's
People
not
got-
just simple competition. What is it?
People got rich off my face.
Yeah.
On the front of a DVD cover.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I wasn't able to do anything about it because I was in a situation where
Right.
I was locked away from society at the time, and then get out and here my face was. So they got rich off me.
Yeah. There are a lot of different ways that humans can take advantage of each other for their own gain. I think that
Is there an industry built on that now?
that's exactly what the social media industry is built on.
No, not them, not the Facebook folks, not the Instagram folks, but people that form a group to attack someone.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of what we do as human beings. We form groups and then make us and them wars. That's what we've been
Us
doing.
and them wars.
Us and them wars.
Ooh, there's the memoirs of the us and them wars.
So what if we formed a group to make everybody wealthy? How about that?
There we go.
Okay, can
Let's
we
build
talk
up.
about why
Yeah.
the upper echelons of society would absolutely freaking hate that idea?
Might hate that idea.
Would
You
hate
can't, you
that
can't
one.
just blanket all of them, but
You are correct.
Answers. Okay.
I would not generalize. I'm sure there are a large number of philanthropic one percenters
yes.
who would love to see wealth dispersed equally amongst the U.S.
There we go.
I just don't think that that's a very big number.
But if you're one of them,
dripping sarcasm.
if you're one of them,
Sarcasm
let
is
us know.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what Gen Alpha. Those are the babies.
Oh, wow.
Right? Those are our 5 and youngers.
Yes, they're so
Right now.
smart. They are so
Gen Alpha. They are
Good.
they are going to reap the the benefits, they're going to reap the results of the revolutions of the past several generations.
Emotional revolutions.
Yeah, emotional revolutions.
That's what I think.
The human opening, like the way that Generation Z is introspective is totally new to any other generation that came before.
I agree.
I think that all of the generations that come after will be seekers of truth. They will be intellectually driven in a way that hasn't happened before. The fact that we now have generations who are skeptical without being cynical
Yes.
is amazing. You can hand something to an intern or to a 16-year-old or to a 12-year-old even and say, I learned this piece of knowledge, and they will go, huh, and then spend 48 hours straight researching that topic and come back to you and go, here's where you were right and here's where you were wrong.
Yes. Wow.
They're skeptical without being cynical. There's a curiosity without there being a jadedness. And I really, really look forward to seeing what that looks like in our youngest generation. I think that they're going to be the ones who change the world.
And
I think
I'm 1,000% behind you. I talk to these little kids, and my jaw drops because it seems like they know things beyond emotionally, spiritually, empathically, beyond the level that they've been taught. they've arrived with the wisdom. Does that make sense? They've arrived with this wisdom, like from some exoplanetary place. I don't know. But I sit there sometimes, just like you're saying, and I'm in complete concord with what you just said, Ron.
Yeah.
Complete. But what does this do? What do we do in the meantime? That's the question. How do we help? Because this morning, if you watch the news, there's a huge thing. This is not to bring everybody down. It's to just make you aware. So much suicide in America on fentanyl. And it's coming across the border. And we've got to warn the geniuses that we need, the enlightened reinforcements that we need, to not hurt yourselves when there's something. Enlightened reinforcements are on the way, correct?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we want to save ourselves for that?
That is a whole other topic, which I think is amazing.
Partnership.
So I know we got a little bit off topic, you guys. Generational wealth in a very esoteric kind of way is what we talked about, handing down of not just money but also knowledge. Before we finish up today, I want to turn it back over to Trevor and John and kind of share a little bit about what this amazing partnership between Desire to Inspire Studios Foundation and STOP is going to be. I'm so excited you guys talk about it.
Well, going off of, not great subject of teen suicide and just suicide as a whole to fentanyl and just life, right? I mean, suicide numbers across the board are just astronomical, right? And part of our program and why we're doing what we do with our youth is to give them a voice, to give them an outlet to creatively tell their story and to share their perspective of the world.
We will have the interns on.
And also to give them a safe place to come and be part of a community. So that if they, for some reason, don't feel comfortable speaking to a parent or a teacher or a peer at school because of, in my case, for years, I was bullied, right? I couldn't talk to anybody about that, right? So part of what we're doing is with our apprentice program is combating that, being the whatever light thing that you just said. What did you say? The light. I know I'm putting you on the spot to actually repeat what you said. Light engineer.
Oh, just that we have to stay illuminated. Don't wait for the light at the end of the tunnel. Become the light going through the tunnel.
There we go.
There it is.
Glow in the dark as you go.
Perfect. So we're becoming the light at the end of the tunnel, or being the light that is going through the tunnel. Man, I'm trying to stretch it to Pritchard's words. Sorry. But anyway, I mean, what we did is we connected. You and I connected over a post on Facebook, right? And you shared your story.
Yes. Powerful.
And and then I commented, man, awesome, and keep doing the work with the youth. And then you commented back, and then we're like, oh my God. And then we had like an hour and a half conversation. And the very next day you were here for Donuts for Breakfast and We Are the Remedy. And our two missions are so similar. But with, if I were to break it down in oversimplistic, it's photography and video and music. Right?
Yes.
And it's, but they really all come back to telling the story and giving our youth a voice.
Yes.
And I think what really intrigued me, one of the most parts is that you're putting these schools into continuation schools, right? They have, in theory, less of a voice in our public school system. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They come from slightly harder, not always, but they come from slightly harder upbringing, right, than our typical public school, if I'm going with my generalization, right? So tell us a little bit more about, how that somehow tie in together, what you're doing with the kids, giving them a voice, and how that ties into generational wealth and what you're trying to do now, because it is all related.
So the STOP project is basically, we're doing video production, music therapy, and when we say therapy, it's like, we're trying to get them to open up about, issues, and we're trying to get them to talk about their life, their lived experience. We're also trying to give them a platform, especially in the continuation schools, the continuation high schools. I mean, that's my dream, is to have one in every continuation high school around the nation, because it's those kids that are in that pipeline to prison already, or not even the pipeline to prison, or making poor choices, or have made the choice to leave regular high school, or
don't fit
don't
mainstream.
feel like they fit in probably.
Right.
Being bullied. I mean, I left high school for various reasons, and music was an outlet for that. And so the partnership would be, very important, because once a youth comes through our program for 8 weeks, I mean, they're already learning how to open up, how to be a part of something different.
Right.
And when they come here, I mean, they can go into internship, learn about photography, learn about the production part of music, learn about, or even production part of storytelling.
Right.
Tell your story.
Right.
And, I think it could be a beautiful partnership. I mean, I'm
absolutely.
looking forward to it. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I reached out to you, is because there was a parallel.
Yeah.
And whenever you see a parallel, you don't want to work against it.
Right.
You don't want to push against the parallel, because when you push against it, you're not in God's will. This is God's will, obviously, or whatever higher power
Universal
brought.
higher power.
Universal
whatever
law,
it
basically.
is,
This
right?
is the way that it's going to be,
Right.
and don't push against it.
Right.
basically,
Did you need a program like this when you were in high school? Something that would have helped
Ah,
you?
heck yeah.
I mean, come on.
Just walking in here, coming in this studio and just seeing the interns work. I mean,
Yeah.
like, that is work that I wish I had.
Yes.
And it's like, I could say, I wish, or what if it happened this way, but
Right.
no, we're doing it now.
Right.
This
Like-
is a different
We're
kind
building
of
it.
wealth
It's-
that we're handing
Yeah.
down.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
right.
and that's what I like about it. It is a different kind of generational wealth. Like, I'm not handing millions of dollars over yet, but the plan is we're building a different culture.
Yeah.
Right.
We're building. I mean, if you look at our core value statement, if you look at who we are as a family, who we are as a work family, who we're bringing on, and who we're partnering with, it's just it's people who care. Is really what it gets down to.
Proving that point, I worked with two young people that are brilliant therapists when they were young. One is Zev Korn, who was a rabbi who went to Harvard, great teacher, still now and a therapist. Susan Pease, good friend, amazing author and speaker and therapist. And I think back of all the young people that you inspire, some women and men are architects and make buildings. I think we here are trying to build people that'll carry us on into the next generation in a neighborly, loving, kind, well way.
Mike, I think that's a great transition into our ask before we close out the
Sure.
show.
Folks, I will just say this unequivocally. This stuff that this stuff that Trevor and John are teaching and our interns are sitting right here behind us, and they're incredible young people, and the rest of our staff here. We all love the community we live in and want to do our part to make the well sell first, and the well sell meets another well sell and another well sell, and then pretty soon the whole community is well. That's what we're doing. We're asking you to be philanthropic and to help us. We have an incredible sponsor now, who's a wonderful young man, and I'm honored to have known him since he was a kid, and to be honored to watch people grow to such wisdom and wealth of spirit, which is just as important. And that's what Desire to Inspire is all about, and if you take an opportunity and you can help donate, and you're a business or a philanthropist, if you're a foundation, you see the importance of the stuff that we're having a conversation with, redeeming lives, helping lives, building lives, encouraging lives, and lighting candles wherever we go in the community with our young interns. They'll become the ambassadors of light that we need. So thank you for your donation. Please donate. Help us out here at We Are the Remedy, and as well at Breakfast with Donuts. And
Breakfast with Donuts.
Donuts
Say
for
it.
breakfast?
Donuts for
Breakfast. Well, and to that note, again, thank you, Mark Machado. Big shout out, Mark Machado, Corcoran Global, giving us our first sponsor. So you'll hear a little bit from him after this. But I also want to, again, give it credit to our apprentices and our behind-the-scenes staff. That's you guys. Yeah, turn the iPad around, show it. Also, you got to get on camera, so flip that thing around and show
Figure it out,
yourself.
Vinny, figure
Give
it
a
out.
little wave. This is Vinny.
Vinny.
That was Vinny, just in case you missed that quick half-second glance. So thank you very much for being a part of Donuts for Breakfast, watching our show, and go out there, smile, share a smile with someone, make someone's day. I know it's just simple, but if you just went like this, right? Look at that smile right there. Oh, what happened over there, man? Like I smiled to one person and 2 people came result. The impact is huge just when you go out there and you share a smile and share a compliment with someone. So thank you very much. We'll see you next Thursday, 9:00 sharp. And thank you for being people helping people. And thank you everyone on the show today.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mark Machado.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark, very much. You're a great man.